What's going on today, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. So today what we're going to be doing on the RS is something I've been waiting on for a while. I submitted an order for this part back in June. So if you guys remember what happened around that time, I'll link it up top and down in the description. At least one of the two, in case I forget. Don't sue me. But if you guys remember, I had the PTU brace blow on me when I took the car in for some service. I wound up ordering the parts that I needed to kind of prevent that from happening again, or to at least reduce the chances greatly. So I got that in after what, we're in November. I got this part in October. So what, quick math, that's what, 4 months. So after 4 months of waiting, I finally got the part in. And we're going to be installing that today with the addition of an upgraded Turbo Smart blow-off spring. I got this, I'll say like 2 months ago. I've been waiting to do these at the same time. And here we go. So let's get into it. So for some cinematic theater, I've already opened this up, but I'm going to walk you through the casing, the unboxing. So you got your padding in here, you got your Mountoon, packaging, pretty decent. This is the PTU brace, and then it comes in with a little QR code brochure for oil changes and other parts and etc. That's trash. So like I said, I already opened this. So what your PTU brace comes with is obviously the PTU brace. As you can tell, if you have not seen the PTU brace before, this is obviously the Mountoon upgraded version. This is an anodized aluminum, which is much beefier. It comes with the normal 3 mounting points and an additional 1, which is here up top, which will mount into part of the block, which I believe is a manufacturer molding point for the motor. So that's what this is going to take use of. It also comes with 4 H8. I believe they're all H8s. So the 2 larger ones are an H8. All right, so the smaller one is probably going to be maybe like a 6. But your larger bolts, it's very easy to see what goes where. Your larger bolts come with a fatter washer, and the curve is going to face the bolt, and then it's just gonna drop right into place and thread in. So you can't mix them up. Like, there's small bolts and washers go with small bolts and washers, and they mount to the smaller point. Okay, so for the fat ones, you're gonna use an H8 socket. Let me go find out what the smaller ones are. So I will link this kit that I got down in the description. As usual, I did get it off of eBay to be more cost efficient. So yeah, like I said, so the smaller bolts are going to be an H6. The H8 is a 3/8 drive, so I do have a little 1/4 inch 3/8 adapter, and then the H6s are a straight up 1/4 drive. So you won't need an adapter for that. It is tight quarters. Okay, so I'll tell you that right off the bat. To get off the old PTU brace, you're going to need a 13 and a 10 millimeter wrench, especially a ratcheting wrench. That will help you greatly in getting those components out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these all partnered up, and then we're going to get the old PTU brace out. I'll show you what that looks like in comparison to this, and then we're going to prep these bolts for going in. All right, so I'm not going to be able to show you a whole lot, but I can at least show you where to go because we're in tight quarters. So we are directly behind the oil pan, okay? And then directly behind your piping. So if you want to make this a little bit easier, you can take off your intercooler feed piping if you want to take that off. If you're set up like mine, you've got your one V-band clamp up top, and then you got your other V-band clamp down here, and then you just wiggle that off. That'll give you some more space. Then the only thing you have to fight over is this torsion bar. So I'm gonna go and do that just to give me a little bit of extra space to operate, so I won't have to fight as much. Also, don't forget your 210mm here and here that hold it up and keep your pipe from falling. And then 13. Whoops, I slipped off. And there we go. OEM PTU brace is off. Now let's go up top and compare it to the new one. All right, so here is the OEM PTU brace. So as you can tell, compared to the Mountoon, obviously it's much beefier, more performance based, which honestly makes me second guess this, because the car is built with a launch mode. Granted, this is probably, built to withstand, the standard ratio of flex in the system. And it said that this one dramatically reduces or can potentially even eliminate the amount of flex once you upgrade the car's power output, which makes sense. So there you go. You know what I mean? But as usual, OEM, the bare minimum, trying to cut corners wherever they can. Aftermarket coming to the rescue. Now, like I said, this did take about 4 months for me to get, because they were on back order, and I had to wait for production to ramp up. But now what we're going to do is I've got all my washers paired up. Like I said, make sure the curvature of the washer faces the bolt, because once this goes in, it's going to sink, and there's teeth on the back of these washers that are going to bite into the screw head and onto the mounting area of the brace. I'm going to add another piece to the puzzle if I can find what I did with it. I'm going to be putting on some orange Loctite just to keep it from walking off. It doesn't say anything about having to do so, but it never hurts to have a little bit of extra security, especially after, what we recently went through with not using Loctite, if you guys have been keeping up with the channel. As far as the extra bolts go from the OEM PTU, you can never have enough bolts, so we gonna keep these. So back under the car, let's go.
Are you too tired of the same old lunch? Are you tired of the same old cold lunch? Call 570-629-3587.
Hungry We Deliver, Anastasia speaking.
Fast, reliable delivery to your home or office. Go to hungrywedeliver.net.
Can I have your telephone number?
All right, so we're under the car, and I'm trying to wiggle this into place. So I don't really have anything to support it while I do it, but basically your first hole is going to be down here at the bottom. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some thread locker onto the bolt, and I'm going to start with my 10mm first. So once I get those lined up, everything else should be easy. right, guys. So one thing that I did not see until just now, when you are lining this up, you want to make sure that you get the top of the brace, since it's much beefier and goes up higher. You want to make sure that you work it in behind your oil return line from the turbo. If not, it's going to get hung up. So I almost had a major whoopsie doopsie, but I was able to find it out because obviously, you know, things weren't moving in quite the way they were supposed to. Back to the show. Okay, PTU brace is up and in. Before I explain what was going on, I'm going to change my battery and we're going to change out the spring for the Turbo Smart blower valve. All right, so next thing is I'm sitting next to the car. So what you're going to do is, that's the blower valve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that clamp, back it off so I don't kink up the hose. And then in order to get that cap off, all you do is just spin it and then it comes right off. Ta-da! I forget how hot these damn spotlight lamps are. But all for your viewing pleasure and entertainment. So if you take a look at the spring, right? So this is the OEM spring, or the standard spring that comes in the Turbo Smart blower valve. So it's an orange, and then it compresses down to pink. So that's your transition. A lot of people, when they order it, they shell out the extra 20, 30 bucks and get the uprated spring right away, which gives you a more consistent whoosh sound instead of that reverberating bird chirp. So this one, as you can tell, is just that. It is the pink spring. It does not have a transition color, simply because I think this is the strongest one they have. It holds up to 30 PSI. And if you're going over 30 PSI, then you're probably doing race applications or you're running a diesel. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize back in here to keep this from seizing up, even though it wasn't difficult to get up. This will just go right in, and you will have to compress it down in order to get it back in. So it might be a little bit of a fight to get it back in. I'm not going to show putting it back in because it's literally just the opposite. You spun it counterclockwise to get it off. You spin it clockwise to get it on. Now, what you will have to deal with is, if you can see the top, it says softer, turning it to the left or backing it off, and then harder, turning it to the right or tightening it down. So depending on how hard of a sound or how high in the RPM you want it to engage will dictate when it starts to blow off versus recirculation. So I had mine's set to about 3/4 of the way, which the car would start blowing off and fluttering between $3,000 and like $3,000 and above. Or if I got on it really hard, suddenly it would then flutter. So I'm gonna go set this up and get it back in. All right, everybody. So we are set up. We're good to go. Mountune PTU brace has been successfully installed. So the little scary moment that I had was the 13mm bolt on the top seemed like it was beginning to cross thread, and then the bottom one looked almost as if the threads were stripped out, which obviously that shouldn't happen. And if it had, then that would be something on the dealer, which I would then take it back to them to have them fix, or, you know, I would have just used my own tap and die kit. But I probably would have taken back to the dealer to have them fix it, because they were the last ones to touch that area of the motor. So it'd be on them to fix it on their dollar. But luckily what wound up happening was the hex head bolts, I guess because of the way the material is, you have to have it like perfectly lined up. So it was kind of like jinked just ever so slightly, and the threads weren't properly catching, even though I thought it was lined up. So obviously I'm on my back, don't have a very good line of sight, as you guys saw, but I took the brace off, lined it up, bolted it in top and bottom, and it threaded in just perfectly. So I pulled everything out, lined everything back up, took my time, and then nice and slowly hand threaded it while keeping it level, and it took with no problem. Same thing on the top with the help of the socket and an extension. Just nice and slowly threaded it, let it catch on its own, got it started, and then I did the same thing with the two 10mm, or not 10, the H6s that bolt into the transfer case side of it. So everything's good to go. I also wound up replacing the spring for the blow-off valve, as you guys saw. That one was a little bit more difficult, only because the clearance, again, I'm on my back. I can't get the car high enough to reach up and in. So I did have to wind up taking the blow-off valve off, and then putting the new spring in. So what I did was, from threading it on, I counted the full thread, the full turns, and then I backed it off halfway. So I believe it was 16 turns. I backed it off 8. So that should be, give or take, around the same performance I had before, since it is a stiffer spring. Because like I said, I had it down 3/4 of the full cap depth before, where this time I backed it off half, since the spring is a little bit stronger. So everything I will post down in the description as far as what I got, where I got it from. So if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, you know what to do with those. And as always, wrench daily.